You're not fooling me anymore, Madison. Hands behind your back. Now. That was the last thing I heard before the door splintered. My name is Madison Carter, 39 years old, a major general in the U.S. Army, and I was in the middle of a live secure Pentagon briefing when my stepfather stormed in with a gun on his hip and handcuffs in his hand. What he didn't know was that in exactly 6 minutes, military protocol would turn this quiet suburban home into a war zone. What would you do if the men who raised you tried to arrest you during a classified op? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I met Richard Dawson when I was 10. My father, Captain Luke Carter, had just died in a helicopter training crash. I still remember the sound of my mother's knees hitting the floor when 2 men in uniform came to our door. She didn't cry, not then, but something inside her broke, and it stayed broken. When Richard walked into our lives, he didn't just bring order. He brought rules. Questions weren't welcome. Curiosity was a threat. Obedience. That was his favorite word. I told him once I wanted to join the army like my dad. He laughed. Not kindly. Soldiers follow orders, Madison. You'd spend more time rewriting the manual. It didn't sting. Not then. It lit a fuse. By 14, I was in JROTC, drilling every weekend, polishing boots until my fingers cracked. I wanted to prove him wrong. I wanted him to see me. But Richard never saw anyone unless they made him look bigger. When I got into West Point, my mom cried. Richard didn't. He just said, "Sure you're not biting off more than you can chew." That was his way. Every achievement a challenge. Every win an insult. And for years, I kept trying anyway. Because I thought one day he'd look at me the way he looked at Darren. His real pride. His real legacy. But that day never came. West Point wasn't a dream. It was a battlefield without bullets. You either adapted or you disappeared. I adapted. Graduated top 8%. Commissioned as second lieutenant. Every bar on my collar. Every stripe on my sleeve. I earned them with blood and sleepless nights. And every time I tried to share a win, Richard found a way to cut it down. When I led my first convoy coordination across Kandahar, my mother sent a 2-word text. Stay safe. Richard? Radio silence. Not a call. Not a line. But he showed up in every other way. At family gatherings, he'd smile that stiff, controlled smile and say things like, "Madison plays soldier behind a laptop these days. Pentagon's probably a big video game for her." They laughed. I laughed too, because what else could I do? Explaining the truth would have broken protocol. And he knew that. He counted on it. By 30, I'd moved into counterintelligence strategy. My clearance was so deep I could see shadows no one admitted existed. Joint operations. Black sites. War rooms that didn't exist on maps. And through all of it, I stayed silent. Because my work wasn't for applause. It was for survival. For the soldiers counting on decisions they'd never see. The higher I climbed, the less I told my family. Not because I didn't want to. Because I couldn't. Operational secrecy was mandatory. But with Richard, secrecy was safety. He couldn't stand being out of the loop. Couldn't stand that his badge didn't open the door as mine did. The more I achieved, the more I felt it. His resentment growing like a shadow across every conversation we didn't have. And I told myself it didn't matter. That I didn't need his approval anymore. But the truth? A part of me still wanted him to say, "I'm proud." Just once. And that weakness, that hunger, kept me quiet when I should have been ready for war. 6 weeks. That's all it was supposed to be. A simple house stay while my condo got fixed. 6 weeks under Richard Dawson's roof. The first 2. Manageable. Annoying questions. Passive digs. I could handle that. But then it shifted. He stopped pretending. The curiosity wasn't casual anymore. It was calculated. Notes on the kitchen counter with times I'd been on calls. Scraps of paper with names. Mispronounced but close enough to make my stomach turn. And then the moment that sealed it. I walked in one morning, and my personal phone was in his hand. "You've been deleting messages," he said. Calm, cold. "That's evidence tampering." I didn't lunge. Didn't scream. I just took the phone and said, "That's a federal offense, Richard." His jaw tightened. "No, what you're doing is a federal offense. Impersonating an officer. Hiding encrypted intel. You think I can't tell the difference between a real soldier and someone playing dress-up?" And that's when I knew. He wasn't suspicious anymore. He was certain. Certain that I wasn't who I said I was. Certain that after 15 years of service, 4 deployments, and 2 classified commendations, I was a fraud. I thought I had time to defuse it. I was wrong. The op went live at 0800. A secure Pentagon briefing. 5 senior officers. Real-time feeds. Exfiltration countdowns. I locked my door. Ran my authentication. Engaged the channel. 22 minutes in. Metal on metal. The door handle turned. I muted my mic. Secure call in progress. Do not enter. Then, crack. The door splintered. And there he was. Gun holstered. Handcuffs drawn. Eyes blazing with conviction. "You're not fooling me anymore, Madison," he said. "Hands behind your back. Now." The cuff clicked shut. Cold steel on my wrist. Richard's breath hitched like he'd just won a war. "You're under detention," he said. "For impersonating a federal officer." I didn't flinch. Didn't fight. Because I knew something he didn't. Protocol Delta was live. And he had 6 minutes before the world came crashing down. On screen, 5 faces had frozen mid-brief. General Franklin's jaw set like granite. "General Carter," he said, calm but sharp. "Confirm Delta is in effect." "Confirmed," I replied. Voice steady. No panic. Just precision. The line cut. And the countdown began. Richard yanked my other arm back, his voice rising. "You think you scare me with your fake calls and fake rank? I've worked 30 years in law enforcement. I know when someone's hiding something." I looked him dead in the eye. "You're right," I said. "I was hiding something," he smirked. Thought he'd won. And then, the engines. Low. Loud. Building from the distance like a storm. Richard froze. "What the hell is that?" 3 words left my mouth slow, deliberate. "Not your jurisdiction." Then, tires screeched. 5 black SUVs slid into the cul-de-sac like wolves circling prey. Doors flew open. Boots hit pavement. Fast, silent, coordinated. Richard backed toward the wall, color draining from his face. "This is some kind of trick," he whispered. "No, Richard," I said softly. "This is the United States military." The front door blasted open. A voice boomed like thunder. "Sir, step away from Major General Madison Carter immediately." Richard blinked. "General, what?" The officer stepped forward, badge glinting, tone lethal calm. "You are currently restraining the Deputy Director of Joint Strategic Operations. Release her. Now." The cuffs hit the floor like a verdict. 2 MPs flanked me instantly, shielding my body as they unlocked the steel. "Are you injured, General?" "Negative," I said. "I's never leaving Richard. But make sure he understands, this briefing. It's over." And so is his access. His jaw slackened. Everything he thought he knew, gone. And for the first time in his life, Richard Dawson had nothing to say. They processed Richard through internal channels. No mugshots. No headlines. Just consequences. Quiet. Final. In ink. I didn't fight for revenge. I fought for clarity. For the truth to stand where no one could erase it again. Mom visited me 2 weeks later. She looked smaller somehow. Not broken, just real. Her first words cut deep. "I thought the military ruined you." But it saved you, didn't it? I nodded. It gave me something you and Richard never could. A seat at the table where my voice mattered. We didn't fix everything that day. But we started something new. On my terms. Not his. Now, when I walk into a room full of stars and stripes, I don't shrink. I don't explain. I lead. And if you've ever been told you're too much, too loud. If someone tried to put cuffs on your ambition, hear me now. You don't need their permission to exist. You never did. Thanks for listening. If this story hit home, subscribe, share, and tell me in the comments. Did you ever have to fight just to be seen? Your story matters. It always has.